Unlocking the Secrets of Instant Connection. Welcome, listener. You are about to step into a world where human connection becomes effortless, powerful, and lasting. Across these two remarkable books, you'll discover how to win hearts in seconds and master conversations that open doors to opportunity, friendship, and influence. We begin with Nicholas Boothman's How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. This book reveals the science and art of first impressions. How a smile, a tone of voice, or a simple gesture can spark trust and warmth almost instantly. Boothman shows us that connection isn't luck. It's a skill you can learn, practice, and master. Then, we move into Leil Lowndes. How to Talk to Anyone. Here, you'll uncover 92 proven techniques to keep conversations flowing, build rapport, and leave people feeling valued and understood. From casual chats to high-stakes networking, Lowndes equips you with tools to transform everyday interactions into meaningful relationships. Together, these books form a complete guide to human connection. One teaches you how to ignite instant likability. The other shows you how to sustain it through words, presence, and confidence. As you listen, imagine yourself walking into any room, whether meeting someone new or speaking with a crowd, and knowing exactly how to connect, engage, and leave a lasting impression. These lessons are not just about communication. They are about unlocking influence, opportunity, and genuine human bonds. Prepare yourself. In the next 74 minutes, you'll gain timeless strategies that can change the way you connect with the world. The journey begins now. Let's begin with the first book, Nicholas Boothman's How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. This is where the journey starts, with the power of first impressions. Boothman shows us that in less than 90 seconds, you can spark trust, warmth, and genuine connection. Whether it's a smile, eye contact, or the tone of your voice, these small signals can make a big difference. So, let's dive into the secrets of instant likability and discover how to win people over from the very first moment. What's in it for me? Make an immediate impact on everyone you meet. Walk into any party, conference, or coffee shop, and you'll spot them immediately. People hugging the walls, clutching their phones like life preservers, perfecting the art of looking busy. Most of us would rather check email for the 15th time than strike up a conversation with a stranger. There's a name for what we're doing, social retreat. And it makes perfect sense. Meeting someone new means navigating the minefield of small talk, enduring those agonizing silences that stretch like taffy, and trying to figure out where exactly you're supposed to look while talking. Do you maintain eye contact? For how long? When does engage become intense? The easiest solution? Stick with the people you already know. Your established friend group becomes a fortress, and everyone outside the wall stays outside. But here's the downside. While we're busy avoiding new connections, our bodies are quietly paying the price. Research on loneliness reveals something remarkable. People with robust social networks, friends beyond their immediate family, live longer, recover from illness faster, and report significantly higher life satisfaction. The data is so compelling that some researchers compare social isolation to smoking 15 cigarettes a day in terms of health impact. Your ability to make friends isn't just about having someone to grab coffee with. It's about survival. Yet the benefits extend far beyond biology. Every new friendship is essentially a training ground for interpersonal skills that ripple through your entire life. When you learn to make someone comfortable in 90 seconds, you're not just being pleasant, you're developing a toolkit. That toolkit translates directly into professional success. Better job interviews, stronger client relationships, more effective leadership. The person who can connect quickly moves through the world differently. Which raises an interesting question. If making friends is this valuable, why does it feel so difficult? The answer lies in what we don't know. Most people approach new interactions without a framework, hoping chemistry will just happen. They rely on luck and personality, unaware that likability follows patterns. It can be learned, practiced, refined. What we're going to show you is how to become instantly likable, not through manipulation or fakery, but through understanding what naturally draws people together. You'll discover techniques that work in 90 seconds or less, methods so practical you can use them today. You'll learn how eye movements reveal the way someone processes information. You'll understand why leaning forward transforms a conversation. And you'll see why that slight discomfort you feel when meeting someone new is actually the doorway to something valuable. Making new friends isn't about forcing yourself into uncomfortable situations. It's about having the right tools. Let's now take a look at what those tools look like. Bonding with others will make you healthier and more successful. The African plains, tens of thousands of years ago. Darkness falls, and a small group of early humans gathers around a crackling fire. They've spent the day hunting together, tracking prey across the grasslands, coordinating their movements with gestures and grunts. Now they share the spoils, tearing into roasted meat, their bodies close, their survival intertwined. Alone, any one of them would have starved. Together, they feast. That scene, repeated across millennia, didn't just keep our ancestors alive. It wired something fundamental into our DNA. We're built to bond. Fast forward to today. Cocktail parties instead of campfires. Town hall meetings rather than tribal gatherings. Star Trek conventions in place of ritual ceremonies. The settings have changed, but the drive remains unchanged. We seek each other out. We cluster. We connect. It's not just culture or habit. It's universal human architecture. Yet here's what's fascinating. This deep-seated need to bond isn't just about feeling good or avoiding loneliness. It's about staying alive. Dr. Lisa Berkman from the Harvard School of Health Sciences tracked 7,000 people over 9 years, watching how their social connections shaped their fates. The data revealed something stark. Those who lacked quality social or community ties were 3 times more likely to die of a medical illness than those with strong social networks. 3 times. Your relationships aren't just enriching your life. They're literally extending it. And there's more at stake than longevity. Think about the last great opportunity that came your way. Maybe a job opening you heard about before it was publicly posted. Perhaps a blind date set up by a friend that actually worked out. Or that impossible-to-get concert ticket that an acquaintance happened to be selling. Behind each of these lucky breaks sits a network, people who knew people who thought of you at the right moment. Whatever you're chasing, whether it's career advancement, romantic connection, or simply experiences that light you up, your chances skyrocket when you've cultivated a wide web of relationships. Success doesn't happen in isolation. It happens at the intersections between people, which brings us to the uncomfortable truth. Knowing that bonding matters doesn't necessarily make it easy. Connecting with strangers, especially those who don't share obvious common ground, can feel awkward and forced. And the stakes are high. Research suggests you have roughly 90 seconds when meeting someone new to spark their interest. Miss that window, and you've likely missed your chance entirely. 90 seconds, that's it. Daunting? Absolutely. Impossible? Not even close. In the chapters ahead, we'll walk you through the specific skills and techniques that make meaningful connection possible, even in those fleeting first moments. The silent introduction. Your mouth hasn't opened yet. Not a single word has passed your lips. But the person standing in front of you, they've already decided something about you. Unsettling, isn't it? But that's exactly how human connection works. Those initial seconds before hello, before handshakes, before names are exchanged, are when the most critical judgments take shape. The body speaks first. Always. Let me walk you through what's actually happening in that wordless moment. Three elements broadcast your intentions before language even enters the picture: your body's position, your eyes, and whatever expression has settled across your face. Each one sends a signal. Each one either opens a door or quietly closes it. Start with the body itself. There's a specific geometry to openness, and it centers on one surprisingly vulnerable spot: your heart. When you position yourself so that your chest, your heart, aims directly toward someone, you're transmitting something primal. Sincerity, full presence. I'm here with you, not halfway turned toward an exit. It's a physical commitment to the moment that people register instantly, even if they couldn't articulate why you feel trustworthy. Your eyes come next. Direct eye contact does something remarkable. It builds trust in real time. Not a stare that unsettles, but a steady gaze that says you're genuinely seeing the person in front of you. This isn't optional. It's foundational. Every successful first encounter hinges on this silent exchange of attention. Then, and this is crucial, be the first to smile. Don't wait for permission. Don't mirror back whatever expression they're wearing. Lead with warmth. That bright, genuine grin does more than signal friendliness. It tells the other person's subconscious that you're open, that you're safe, that connecting with you won't require defensive armor. Once you've established this nonverbal foundation, the verbal part is almost refreshingly simple. A straightforward hi or hello in a pleasant tone. Your first name, an invitation for theirs. When they offer it, let's say it's Brenda, immediately repeat it back. Brenda. Nice to meet you, Brenda. This isn't just politeness. It's a memory technique that locks their name into place. One final move, the subtle lean. Shift your weight slightly forward toward them. It's a small gesture, barely noticeable, but it amplifies everything you've already communicated. Interest, openness, engagement. Pair it with a firm, respectful handshake if the context calls for it, or simply keep your hands relaxed at your sides. Either works. All of this unfolds in seconds. But those seconds determine whether you've created genuine connection or just another forgettable encounter. The person in front of you has already decided. Your body told them everything they needed to know. The attitude that opens doors. Your flight's been canceled. The holiday you've been planning for months is slipping away. The gate agent, young, already exhausted at 9 a.m., is calling for the next person in line. You have exactly one chance to get what you need. In this moment, everything hinges on something invisible. Not your ticket class, not your frequent flyer status, your attitude, and whether it's pointing you toward what you want or trapping you in what you don't. It all comes down to one simple choice: adopting a useful attitude or slipping into a useless one. The distinction is deceptively simple. A useful attitude focuses your mental energy on what you want from the conversation. A useless attitude fixates on what you don't want. Watch how this plays out at that airport gate. The traveler with a useless attitude is trapped in a mental loop. I don't want to be stuck here. I don't want to miss Christmas. I don't want this incompetent airline ruining my plans. This internal script writes itself across their face. Tight jaw, narrowed eyes, crossed arms. When they reach the counter, they're already broadcasting hostility. The shouting starts, the demands escalate, and the gate agent, who might have found a solution, now focuses on getting through this interaction with minimal damage. Zero rapport, zero results, The traveler with a useful attitude runs different code. I want to find someone who can help me get another flight. That's it. That singular focus on a desired outcome rewires everything. Their facial expression softens, their shoulders drop, their voice finds a collaborative tone. They approach the same exhausted gate agent as a potential ally, not an adversary. I know this isn't your fault, and you must be dealing with 100 people like me. What options do we have? The body language that emerges isn't performed or faked. It's automatic. When your mind targets what you want, your face and posture fall into alignment. So, before any conversation that matters, pause. Ask yourself, what's my actual goal here? Not what you want to avoid, but what you want to create. That simple question acts as a compass. It steers you toward openness instead of defensiveness, toward curiosity instead of judgment, toward the expressions and gestures that make you genuinely likable, because they're rooted in genuine intent. The gate agent sees dozens of desperate travelers that day. The ones who get rebooked, they're not necessarily the most eloquent or the most entitled. They're the ones whose attitude made helping them feel like the path of least resistance, even pleasure. That's rapport by design. The body speaks first. Your friend says he's fine. Arms crossed, eyes darting to the floor, foot tapping like a metronome, counting down to something. You don't believe a word. Why? Because long before we process words, our brains scan bodies. We're reading signals we can barely name, detecting mismatches that set off alarm bells in our subconscious. That's the power and the danger of body language. Let me break down what makes someone instantly trustworthy versus instantly suspicious, starting with a simple framework that changes everything. As we touched on briefly in a previous chapter, open body language does exactly what it sounds like. It exposes your heart and torso to the person you're speaking with. In that way, every gesture you make falls into one of two camps: open or closed, shoulders back, arms relaxed at your sides, chest facing forward. This posture broadcasts a message without words. I'm here. I'm engaged. I want this conversation. Closed body language does the opposite. Crossed arms shield your heart, literally and emotionally. Turning your body sideways creates distance. These aren't just random poses. They're protective mechanisms expressing resistance, frustration, impatience, or nervousness. Your body is saying, I need a barrier between us, whether you intend that message or not. And it's not just about limbs and torsos. Your face operates on the same open-close spectrum. An open face makes eye contact, smiles, raises eyebrows to show interest and engagement. A closed face goes stern, avoids eyes, locks expressions behind a neutral mask. But here's where it gets tricky. You can't just nail one aspect and call it done. Albert Mehrabian, a former UCLA psychology professor who dedicated his career to understanding communication, discovered something crucial about credibility. It hinges on congruity across three channels: the vocal, how you sound; the verbal, what you say; and the visual, what your body does. All three must align. When they don't, people sense the discord even if they can't articulate it. Remember that fine friend? His words said one thing. His voice, his posture, his restless foot, they all told a different story. The mismatch didn't just undermine his credibility. It created awkwardness that hung in the air like smoke. That's exactly why consistency matters so profoundly. Mixed signals don't just confuse people, they actively repel them. When your mouth says yes, but your body screams no, the other person feels something's off. Trust evaporates. Comfort disappears. The solution? Bring everything into alignment. Say what you mean. Mean what you say. Let your body echo both. The mirror effect. Right now, as you read this, someone somewhere is unconsciously matching their companion's breathing rhythm. A coffee shop regular is tilting her head at the exact angle as her friend across the table. A business meeting participant has crossed his legs in the same direction as the person speaking. None of them realize they're doing it. This isn't coincidence. It's one of the most fundamental and invisible forces shaping every human interaction you'll ever have. The pattern starts earlier than you might think. A newborn baby, just hours old, already synchronizes her body rhythm with her mother's. The infant doesn't choose this. She doesn't learn this. The synchronization happens automatically, a biological imperative as natural as breathing. Fast forward 2 decades. That same person, now an adult, finds her wardrobe slowly shifting to match her partner's aesthetic. He wears a lot of navy blue. Suddenly she's drawn to it too. She favors minimalist jewelry. He starts ditching his flashier accessories. Neither one decided to coordinate. Yet coordinate they do. But why? What evolutionary advantage could possibly come from being human photocopiers? The answer reveals itself in the smallest moments. Someone smiles at you on the street. Your mouth curves upward before you can think about it. A colleague yawns during a meeting. Suddenly your jaw is stretching too. Watch a boxer take a brutal hit to the gut in a match, and notice how your own abdomen tenses in phantom pain. Your body responds to others' experiences as if they were happening to you, which explains why synchronization becomes the secret handshake of rapport. Research confirms what we intuitively sense. We gravitate toward people who move like us, talk like us, even look like us. Studies show we're more likely to hire candidates who share our mannerisms. We're drawn to romantic partners whose faces echo our own features. Similarity doesn't just breed comfort, it breeds connection. I want to show you how this works in practice. Think about mirroring. Discreetly matching someone's gestures, body posture, facial expressions, breathing patterns, and vocal tone. Not mimicry. That's obvious and off-putting. But subtle synchronization creates an almost magnetic ease. Consider the art gallery scenario. A man moves quietly through the space, contemplating each piece with reverent silence. He's absorbed, introspective. Then comes the salesperson, loud, physical, invading the patron's personal space with an enthusiastic shoulder grab and booming commentary about the paintings. The mismatch is jarring. The sale dies before it begins. Flip the script. That same salesperson notices the patron's quiet demeanor and adjusts. She approaches slowly, speaks softly, gives space, matches his contemplative rhythm. Suddenly, there's no friction, just two people moving through the gallery together, in sync. Voice matching carries particular power. When someone speaks in hushed, gentle tones, and you respond with volume and vigor, you create distance. But lower your voice to meet theirs. That simple adjustment signals, I'm with you. We're in the same space, the same wavelength. The other person relaxes. Their guard drops. Communication flows. You've been doing this your whole life without knowing it. The question isn't whether to synchronize. You already do. The question is whether you'll do it consciously, skillfully, in service of genuine connection. The art of questions and the power of listening. A woman sits across from a stranger at a bustling Italian restaurant. The aroma of garlic and basil thick in the air. She gestures toward her plate and says, "Do you come here often?" The stranger nods. Yeah. Silence settles between them like unwanted silverware. The conversation dies before it ever lived. Rewind that scene. Same restaurant, Same strangers. This time, what a lovely restaurant. Where do you think the chef is from? The stranger's eyes light up. Actually, I think northern Italy. The way they use sage in the butter sauce, and just like that, they're off. One word made all the difference. Questions shape conversations the way riverbeds shape water. They either channel the flow or dam it completely. The mechanics are deceptively simple. Some questions open people up, inviting them to share and expand. Others shut them down, requiring nothing more than a yes or no. The opening questions, the ones that unlock genuine conversation, all share a common DNA. They begin with the magic words: who, what, when, where, how, and why. These aren't just grammatical constructions. They're invitations to explain, to opine, to reveal something true. Where do you think the chef is from? Demands more than a head shake. It asks for judgment, speculation, maybe even a story. Closed questions work differently. Built on phrases like are you, have you, and do you, they're conversational. They might seem polite, even friendly, but they're efficiency killers when you're trying to build connection. The stranger at the restaurant can answer, "Do you come here often?" in a single syllable and be done with you. Yet asking the right questions is only half the equation. The other half, active listening. And no, that doesn't mean simply staying quiet while someone else talks. It means tuning into the emotional frequency beneath the words, catching not just what someone says, but how they feel about saying it. Your body does most of this work. Face your heart toward the speaker. Literally angle your torso in their direction. Make eye contact, not the creepy, unblinking variety, but genuine visual connection. Lean in slightly when something resonates. Nod when you agree. These aren't performative gestures. They're signals that say, "You matter, keep going." And when your turn comes to speak, resist the urge to interrupt, no matter how brilliant your addition feels in the moment. Wait. Then respond with energy that matches what you've just heard. Consider the woman who shares, "I really like living in Chicago, but my husband got a promotion and we might move to Miami." A mediocre listener might say, "Oh, cool." An active listener hears the tension in that sentence, the tug between contentment and change, and responds, "Wow, that seems like a huge and stressful decision. How are you going to decide where to live?" Notice the difference? The first response closes the door. The second flings it wide open, acknowledging the emotion and inviting deeper exploration with another open question. This is the dance of genuine conversation, asking questions that give people room to breathe, then listening with every part of yourself, ears, eyes, body, heart, to what they choose to do with that space. Speaking their language. Two people walk into the same art gallery. One stands back, eyes darting from canvas to canvas, drinking in colors and compositions. The other steps closer, reading every placard aloud, listening to the guided audio tour. A third runs their fingers along the velvet rope, feeling the weight of their coat, shifting from foot to foot. Same room, same art. Three entirely different experiences. Back in 1970, Richard Bandler and John Grinder stumbled onto something fascinating while developing neurolinguistic programming. They discovered that people don't just prefer different senses. They actually filter reality through them. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. We all use a combination, yes, but one sense dominates the way we process the world around us. Which brings us to a question worth exploring. What happens when you start speaking in someone else's sensory language? Watch someone who leads with their visual sense. They move fast, talk faster. Their clothing choices matter. Crisp lines, coordinated colors, attention to detail. When they're thinking, they're literally seeing the answer, constructing images in their mind. Listen to how they speak. I see what you're saying. How does this look to you? Can you show me what you mean? Auditory people, on the flip side, live in a world of sound and rhythm. Their voices have this melodic quality, rising and falling with natural expression. They're drawn to careers where voice matters, broadcasting, teaching, courtrooms. Conversation isn't just communication for them. It's an art form. Their language gives them away. That sounds familiar. Tell me more about it. I didn't like his tone. Then there are the kinesthetic folks. Everything slows down. Their voices drop lower, warmer. They gravitate toward textured fabrics, tactile experiences. When they're processing information, they need to feel their way through it, which is why they speak more deliberately, more carefully. How do you feel about this? Let me get in touch with her. I can't quite grasp what you're saying. Here's where it gets practical. Once you recognize someone's dominant sense, you can mirror it, and the connection deepens almost automatically. Speaking quickly and dressing sharply around visual people creates instant rapport. Using clear articulation and a pleasant vocal tone wins over auditory types. Matching a kinesthetic person's slower pace and speaking with sensitivity makes them feel understood at a fundamental level. But how do you actually identify which sense someone favors? Their eyes tell the story. Ask someone about their favorite vacation. A visual person's eyes drift upward, left or right, as if watching a movie projected on the ceiling. Auditory people look horizontally, toward their ears, accessing sound memories. Kinesthetic people look down and to the side, toward their hands and body, reconnecting with how that experience felt. The next time you're struggling to connect with someone, stop talking and start watching. Their eyes are already showing you the path forward. You just need to know where to look. Conclusion. Let's wrap up by revisiting everything we've covered today. To start, when meeting someone new, you typically will only have 90 seconds to make a lasting impression. 90 seconds. That's it. Not 90 minutes to build rapport over coffee. Not 90 days to prove your worth. 90 seconds to determine whether someone will genuinely connect with you or politely tolerate your presence for the rest of the conversation. The clock starts ticking the instant you meet. Research in social psychology reveals something both liberating and terrifying. The emotional atmosphere you create in that narrow window of time becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Get those first moments right, and you've opened a door. Miss them, and you'll spend the rest of your interaction pushing against a wall that never quite comes down. What makes those seconds so decisive? It's not about your opening line or your firmness of handshake. It's about how the other person feels in your presence. Do they sense openness, curiosity, a genuine willingness to connect? Or do they pick up on something guarded, distracted, or performative? This is where most advice about first impressions falls short. We're told to smile, make eye contact, remember names, all fine suggestions, but they miss the deeper current. Your conversation partner isn't cataloging your behaviors like a checklist. They're experiencing you as an emotional atmosphere, the way you might sense the mood of a room the moment you walk in. An authentically open attitude can't be faked, but it can be cultivated. It starts with a simple mental shift, approaching the encounter with curiosity rather than judgment, with the assumption that this person has something interesting to offer rather than something to prove. Yet openness alone won't seal the connection if there's a mismatch in energy. Let's say you're meeting someone for the first time, maybe a potential collaborator, maybe someone at a social gathering. They speak in measured tones, pausing between thoughts, their energy calm and deliberate. Meanwhile, you're operating at twice their speed, words tumbling out rapid fire, your enthusiasm manifesting as verbal velocity. The disconnect isn't about content. It's about rhythm. They're playing adagio. You're racing through allegro vivace. And in that gap, connection falters. Here's where a surprisingly simple technique comes in: belly breathing. Instead of shallow chest breathing that keeps you revved up, shift your focus downward. Breathe into your abdomen, feeling it expand. Your diaphragm does the work. Watch what happens. Your breath naturally slows. That slower breathing cascades into your nervous system, dialing down your urgency. And almost without trying, your speaking pace downshifts to match your conversation partner's tempo. You've created synchrony, not through mimicry, but through genuine physiological alignment. You're no longer two people speaking past each other at different frequencies. You're meeting in the same moment, breathing the same air, sharing the same rhythm, all in under 90 seconds. Now that we've explored the art of instant connection, it's time to move to the second book, Leil Lowndes' How to Talk to Anyone. If Boothman teaches us how to open the door, Lowndes shows us how to walk through it and stay inside. With 92 practical techniques, she reveals how to keep conversations flowing, build rapport, and leave people feeling valued. This is where likability turns into lasting influence. Let's uncover the strategies that make every interaction smoother, more confident, and more memorable. What's in it for me? Learn how to put your best foot forward and avoid putting your foot in your mouth. Picture this. You're at a networking event, standing awkwardly by the refreshment table, desperately trying to look busy with your phone. Across the room, you see someone effortlessly moving from group to group, laughing, connecting, making it all look so easy. You think some people are just born with it. But here's the truth. They're not. Great communication isn't some magical gift bestowed upon the lucky few. It's a skill, a learnable, practicable skill made up of dozens of small techniques that anyone can master. Leil Lowndes has spent decades studying what separates magnetic communicators from the rest of us. And in these blinks, you're going to discover her secrets, practical techniques to transform every conversation you have, from making killer first impressions to owning any room you walk into. First impressions matter, so remember to smile and use welcoming body language. Let me tell you a story about someone called Sarah. Sarah was on the hunt for a new job, and she thought she'd found the perfect one. She walked into the job interview one Tuesday morning, qualified, prepared, resume absolutely perfect. She'd rehearsed her answers for days. She knew the company inside and out. She was ready for this. But in the first 3 seconds of walking through that door, she made one tiny mistake. She forgot to smile. The interviewer noticed immediately. Later that day, he told Sarah's colleague that she seemed cold and disengaged. He said it felt like she didn't really want to be there. She didn't get the job. You know the shocking thing here? The interviewer's entire judgment of Sarah was formed before she even sat down. I'm going to take you through something that might feel unfair, but it's absolutely critical to understand. Your first impression isn't just important, it's practically permanent. When you meet someone for the first time, their brain is taking a snapshot of you, and that image gets filed away in a mental folder labeled with your name. Every future interaction they have with you will be filtered through that initial impression. So let's start where every first impression begins: your face. Your mother was right about this one. Smiling matters. But here's what she might not have told you. People can spot a fake smile from across a room. You know the kind I mean. That instant, plasticized grin that screams, "I'm being polite, but I don't really mean it." Research shows that a genuine smile builds slowly, spreading naturally across your face like sunrise breaking over a horizon. That gradual bloom makes it appear personal, like this smile is just for them. Now, here's a pro tip that most people miss. Don't give everyone in a group the same smile. Think about it. If you're beaming the exact same expression at everyone, it starts to feel like a performance rather than a genuine connection. Vary your grin. Let it reflect the unique person you're engaging with. Your eyes are your second secret weapon. There's solid research backing this up. Steady eye contact doesn't just make you seem confident. It actually helps you gain both respect and affection. But here's the advanced move. Maintain eye contact with someone even when they're not the one talking. Most people break eye contact the moment someone else starts speaking. By keeping your gaze steady, you're sending a powerful message. You matter to me, even when you're not center stage. Now let's talk about your body. Because while your face is making that first impression, your body language is writing the full story. Here's a simple but powerful shift. When you meet someone for the first time, don't treat them like a stranger. I know that sounds contradictory, but stay with me. Instead of that stiff, formal posture we reserve for people we don't know, greet them as if they were an old friend you're genuinely happy to see. Turn your entire body toward them, not just your head, your whole torso. This signals that they have your complete, undivided attention. Okay, let's move on from first impressions to the next stage. Breaking the ice without breaking a sweat. Smooth introductions and familiar gestures lead to good conversations. You know that anxious feeling right before you're about to meet someone new? That little voice in your head asking, what if we have nothing in common? What are we even going to talk about? I've been there. We all have. But let me share something that might ease that anxiety. Most of the time, all you need is a smooth introduction, and the conversation practically builds itself. The easiest path to that smooth introduction is to get help. If you're at an event, find a mutual friend or the host and ask them to make the introduction. But don't stop there. Ask them to include 1 or 2 interesting facts about each person. Not just this is John, he works in marketing, but this is John, he just got back from hiking the Appalachian Trail, and he's launching a new campaign for sustainable products. See what just happened there? You now have 2 potential conversation threads to pull on. You could ask about the hiking experience, or dive into the sustainability angle. The introduction just opened multiple doors for you. But what if you don't have someone to make that introduction? Here's a technique I love. Loiter with purpose. Position yourself near the person you want to meet and listen. Not in a creepy way. Just be present in their vicinity. You're waiting for that golden moment when you hear something that gives you a natural entry point. Maybe they mention a book you've read, or a city you've visited, or a challenge you've also faced. That's your opening. Another classic move is to bring your own conversation starter or icebreaker. This could be a vintage pocket watch, a unique piece of jewelry, an unusual bag, or even a book with an intriguing cover. The goal is to have something that prompts people to ask, "Where did you get that?" Or "What's the story behind that?" Before you know it, you're in a conversation that feels natural and unforced. Now, once you're actually in a conversation, here's where things get interesting. Pay close attention to how the other person is speaking and responding. Are they animated, using big gestures and smiling? Match that energy. Are they more reserved, leaning back, speaking in measured tones? Adjust accordingly. This isn't about being fake. It's about meeting people where they are emotionally. Think of it like dancing. If your partner is doing a waltz, you don't suddenly break into a tango. You find the rhythm together. Remember, in a conversation, confidence matters more than the actual words you use. As long as you avoid saying something rude, unpleasant, or complaint-filled, you're probably fine. People respond to your energy and attitude far more than they respond to your perfect word choice. Master the art of small talk by opening conversational doors and keeping people talking. Let's move on. I need to tell you something that might surprise you. Small talk is not a waste of time. Small talk is actually the bridge that gets you from stranger to friend, from cold contact to warm connection. It's not the destination. It's the vehicle that gets you there. So let's talk about how to master this underrated art form. The problem most people have with small talk is that they treat it like a quiz show. Someone asks, "Where are you from?" and they answer London. Full stop. Conversation dies right there. Or they get asked, "What do you do?" and they respond with marketing. End of story. These one-word answers are like conversational dead ends. They leave your partner with nowhere to go. But here's what the pros do. They prepare for these inevitable questions. Because let's be honest, when you're getting to know someone, certain questions always come up. Where are you from? What do you do? How do you know the host? These are the small talk standards, and you can predict them with near certainty. So instead of giving those flat, uninviting answers, prepare to elaborate. Open conversational doors instead of closing them. Let me give you an example. My friend David is from Washington. People ask him where he's from. He doesn't just say DC. He says, "I'm from Washington, DC. Did you know it was designed by the same city planner who laid out Paris?" That's why both cities have those grand diagonal avenues cutting through the grid. Suddenly, you've got options. You could talk about city planning, or travel to Paris, or American history, or architecture. David just opened 4 or 5 conversational doors with one thoughtful answer. Now here's where things get really interesting. One of the most powerful small talk techniques is also the most counterintuitive. The best way to be seen as a great conversationalist is to say very little and keep the spotlight on your conversation partner. So how do you keep someone talking? Here's a simple technique. Use their pauses as opportunities to echo back what they just said, but phrase it as a gentle question that puts the ball back in their court. They might say, "So we decided to pivot the entire business model." You respond, "You pivoted the entire business model?" And just like that, they're off again, explaining the details, the reasoning, the outcome. You're guiding the conversation without dominating it. Another winning move is to know who in a group has a great story, and then give that person a proper introduction. Let's say you're at a dinner party, and you know your friend Marcus just got back from volunteering in Costa Rica. You could say to the group, "Has Marcus told you about his experience in the cloud forest? It's an incredible story." This does 2 things. It provides the group with entertainment and gives Marcus a moment to shine. He'll appreciate that you created the opportunity for him to share something meaningful. Just make sure the story is appropriate for the setting and wasn't told to you in confidence. Otherwise, this tactic could backfire spectacularly. When you're in those getting to know you conversations, resist the urge to confess weaknesses or reveal secrets too early. This happens all the time. People feel nervous, they want to seem authentic and vulnerable, so they blurt out something personal. "I'm terrible with names," or "I'm really not good at this networking thing," or "I have no idea what I'm doing in this job." Unless the person is already thoroughly impressed by you, these revelations will just make them wonder what else you're hiding or struggling with. Save the vulnerability for later, once you've established credibility and trust. In the early stages, focus on being genuinely interested, authentically curious, and reliably positive. Build rapport through imitating, empathizing, and acting like a close friend. Here's something about human nature that's both obvious and profound. People like people who are like them. We're drawn to similarity. We trust it. We feel comfortable with it. And once you understand this, you can build rapport faster than you ever thought possible. This is where mirroring comes in, and I'm going to show you how to do it authentically. First, let's explore physical mirroring. Watch how people move. Are they slow and deliberate? Quick and energetic? Leaning back relaxed or forward and intense? When you subtly reflect a person's movements and energy, something fascinating happens. They feel more comfortable around you, even if they can't articulate why. But mirroring goes beyond body language. It extends to words. If someone says they work for an agency, don't call it a company or firm. Use their word, agency. If they're passionate about something, use passionate when you refer to it, not interested or excited. These small linguistic mirrors signal you're truly listening. Take it further by adopting language from their world. Talking to someone who loves baseball? Say you want to help them hit a home run with this project. Into sailing? Welcome them as part of the crew. These aren't corny puns. They're linguistic bridges. Now upgrade your listening with what I call empathizers. Replace those mindless umps and ahas with full sentences. That was the right thing to do. I can see why you made that choice. What a smart solution. These make people feel genuinely heard and understood. Here's another technique that works like magic. Start using we and us instead of you and I. Think about it. When do you use we? With closest friends, family, your tight-knit team. These words signal belonging. Instead of, what do you think about the new mayor? Try, how do you think we'll do with the new mayor? It transforms the dynamic from two separate individuals to teammates facing the same situation together. Final technique, cultivate in-jokes. They're cornerstones of close relationships. When something funny happens, a clever remark, a shared laugh, make a mental note. Then later, bring it up with a knowing smile. Remember when you said? Suddenly, you have shared history. You've created a bond that didn't exist before. For example, imagine a new colleague at work jokes that the office coffee tastes like optimistic dirt. Why not a few days later bring in some good coffee and say, thought you might want a break from the optimistic dirt. She'll light up. That tiny callback can help transform the relationship from being polite coworkers into friendly allies. Building rapport isn't manipulation. It's creating genuine connection by meeting people where they are and showing them you truly see them. Be delicate, sparing, and immediate with your praise. Let me ask you something. Have you ever received a compliment that felt so forced, so obviously insincere, that it actually made you uncomfortable? Maybe someone gushed about your work in a way that felt over the top, and you found yourself thinking, what do they want from me? Here's the thing about praise. It's a good thing in theory, but in practice, it can backfire spectacularly if the recipient thinks you're being insincere. So let me show you how to give praise in ways that feel genuine and land with real impact. First technique, give praise indirectly. Instead of complimenting someone directly, pass along your nice words through a mutual acquaintance. This works brilliantly. When a third party delivers the good news, both the recipient and the messenger come away feeling great. The recipient thinks, wow, they were saying nice things about me when I wasn't even in the room. They must really mean it. And the messenger gets to be the bearer of good tidings, which has its own rewards. If you're ever approached by someone to pass along a compliment, always follow through. You'll find that being the messenger of praise is actually a gift to yourself. Now, if you're giving a compliment directly, avoid being too obvious about it. Instead, slip it into a casual remark. You could ask someone, how are you? Then briefly glance at them before continuing, you've obviously been well. Or you can subtly show respect by asking for their recommendation, maybe about a restaurant or a book. This implies you admire their taste and judgment without explicitly stating it. Here's something important. A little praise goes a long way. Most people feel their good work goes largely unnoticed. By simply telling someone they did a good job, you're making their day. And it's even better when the praise is immediate. Don't wait a week to deliver it. Speak up right when the good deed happens. This is especially powerful after someone gives a presentation. Public speaking is tough for most people, and they're usually feeling vulnerable afterward. Even if you're stretching the truth slightly, your colleague will genuinely appreciate hearing that was excellent right away when they need it most. If you want to go that one step even further, remember to be specific in your praise. If you want to deliver a dazzling compliment to someone special in your life, highlight one particular trait you genuinely admire. Maybe it's their perseverance through a difficult challenge, their impeccable sense of style, or their ability to make everyone feel welcome. When you're sincere and specific, they'll know you truly see them. And that's the kind of compliment people remember for years. We've covered the basics of how to talk to anyone and win them over. Always be considerate in your relationships, especially when it comes to giving and receiving favors. Now let's look at some expert-level moves that will put you on top of your interpersonal game. And it all starts with one word: consideration. Being considerate sounds simple, but most people miss the subtle ways it can transform relationships. Let me walk you through 4 powerful forms of considerate behavior. First, understand that people need to vent. Especially after a rough day, they need to complain and get it out of their system. But what most people do wrong is that they immediately try to fix the problem or shift the conversation to their own concerns. Don't do that. Be patient. Let them vent. Show sympathy. This helps them calm down, and once that happens, you can gently shift the conversation to what's on your mind. By giving them space to release their frustration first, you've actually made them more receptive to you. Second, never leave a conversation hanging. Picture this. Your friend is in the middle of a great story when a waiter interrupts to take your orders. Most people, once the waiter leaves, just move on to a new topic. But the considerate move is to bring your friend right back to where she left off. So you were saying about the client meeting, this small gesture shows you were truly listening and that her story matters to you. Third, sometimes things are best left unsaid. Everyone has embarrassing moments they hope no one notices. Maybe a biological function that's impossible to ignore, or an awkward stumble, or food stuck in their teeth. The considerate thing to do: pretend it never happened. Continue the conversation as if nothing occurred. Your friend will be deeply grateful for this kindness. Next, let's talk about the art of the favor, because this is where most people mess up. You know how great you feel when you do someone a favor, right? But if someone asks you to drop everything and do them a favor right now, that feels rude and presumptuous. Don't make this mistake yourself. Give people time and space to help you. Similarly, if you do someone a favor, don't immediately ask for something in return. That makes it feel transactional, like you were keeping score the whole time. Instead, let time pass so they know you performed your favor out of genuine friendship. Only later, maybe weeks later, bring up what you need. And here's the final piece. We all keep score of the things we do for friends and colleagues, whether we admit it or not. So make sure you're sufficiently thankful and appreciative to those who continually have your back. A heartfelt thank you, a small gesture of appreciation, or simply acknowledging their support can go a long way. Sounding professional is crucial for career success. If you're ambitious in your career, you're probably always looking for ways to impress the boss and generate forward momentum. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. One of the most powerful tools you have is simply sounding professional. Let me show you what that actually means. First, when talking with your boss or other important people, cut to the chase. Be direct. Important people don't have time to dance around the topic, and they'll respect you for getting straight to the point. But the subtle trick here that makes a huge difference is to start your sentences with you. When you do this, the listener pays more attention to the words that follow. You're going to love these results. Hits differently than these results are great. Along these same lines, think about how to deliver news based on what your listener's response is likely to be. If you think they'll be happy to hear it, deliver it with a smile. If it's disappointing news, tell them with a compassionate sigh. You're anticipating their emotional response and meeting them there. Next, think about what the listener is actually interested in. If you're meeting a potential client, don't just tell them your job title. Tell them what you do for people. If you're an accountant, say, I arrange people's finances and find new ways for them to save money. If you're a hairdresser, mention how you find the perfect cut that suits a client's face and personality. By doing this, you paint a picture of the value you provide. You're not just stating a label. Now, let me tell you about the pitfalls, the things that make you sound unprofessional, even if you don't realize it. First, if you discover you have something in common with someone, don't overreact with a sudden, "Oh wow, me too." This happens all the time at networking events. Someone mentions they went to the same university or grew up in the same town, and the other person practically shouts their excitement. The professional response? Stay calm. Let the reveal happen naturally over the course of conversation. The other person will be impressed by your cool demeanor and genuine interest rather than your enthusiastic reaction. Second, avoid cliches at all costs. When you use tired phrases like "think outside the box" or "let's circle back," you sound like everyone else. Professionals use fresh, specific language. Third, and this is a big one, don't ask people, "What do you do?" Instead, ask something like, "How do you spend most of your time?" Some people simply don't like talking about their day jobs. Maybe they're stuck in a position they don't love, or maybe their real passion is something they do outside of work. By asking how they spend their time, you're opening the door for them to talk about what actually excites them, whether that's their career or their side project or their volunteer work. Finally, remember that professionals don't tease or embarrass other people, and they never make jokes at someone else's expense. Humor is great, but not when it comes at the cost of someone's dignity. The moment you make someone feel small to get a laugh, you've lost their respect, and probably the respect of everyone watching. Sounding professional isn't about being stiff or formal. It's about being thoughtful, direct, and respectful in a way that makes people want to work with you and trust you with bigger opportunities. Stay in charge by separating business and leisure, and by always being honest. Let's move on to the next chapter. We're over halfway now. Climbing the career ladder is hard enough, but once you get to the top, there's a whole new challenge: avoiding getting knocked back down. So let me share some techniques for staying in charge and maintaining your leadership position. Let's start with a great tip for all bosses. Keep business away from personal time. Even if you're at a business lunch, don't start talking shop until you're done with dessert, especially if the topic is a tough one. No one wants to have their appetite ruined by an unpleasant business conversation. No one wants to discuss budget cuts during the appetizer course. The same principle applies to parties. They can be fantastic for making new contacts, but they're terrible venues for discussing serious business matters. Keep it light, make genuine connections, and schedule a separate appointment for the heavy lifting. Now, when it is the proper time to do business, here's something critical. Always be honest while presenting your best self. When meeting or pitching to clients, people tend to make a common mistake. They talk endlessly about how much the customer will benefit while avoiding any mention of what they'll get out of the deal. You might think this is just being polite, but it actually comes across as disingenuous. Instead, be transparent and upfront about how both the client and yourself will benefit. For example, say, "Here's what this will do for you, and here's why it makes sense for us to." This honesty builds trust. They won't think you're trying to pull a fast one, because you're being clear about everyone's interests. Also, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Some businesses actually love messing up because it gives them a chance to impress customers by making things right. If you send out the wrong product or miss a deadline, be genuinely apologetic and go the extra mile with a gesture of goodwill. Maybe a gift card, free shipping on the next order, or an upgrade. Done right, you're likely to keep the customer, and they may even spread the word about how great your service is. A well-handled mistake can actually strengthen a relationship. One final tip that's sure to impress is to always be the first one to applaud or speak up. Leaders take the first step. They don't wait for others to tell them what to do. So in group scenarios, you can subtly and effectively present yourself as a leader by being the first to applaud after a presentation or the first to offer an opinion when someone asks for feedback. Leadership isn't about being the loudest or the most dominant. It's about being thoughtful, honest, and willing to step up when others hesitate. Do that consistently, and you won't just stay in charge. You'll earn the respect that makes your position unshakable. Preparing for meetings pays off. If you want to improve your chances of having a successful meeting with someone you don't know, let me tell you a secret. A little preparation can work absolute wonders. And I'm not talking about hours of research. I'm talking about smart, strategic prep that gives you an edge. First, let's talk about your vocabulary. Studies show that people with a deep and varied vocabulary are seen as more intelligent and creative. Now, no one is suggesting you start using obscure words to sound smart. That's the fastest way to seem pretentious. But here's what you can do. Look up some of your more repetitive words in a thesaurus and find some fresh replacements you can put to use. You can think of it this way. If you pick up just one new word a day for 2 months, you'll soon come across as quite the clever and creative wordsmith. Instead of always saying something is interesting, maybe it's compelling or intriguing or thought-provoking. Small variations such as these make you sound more articulate and engaged. Having some relevant quotations handy is another sign of wisdom and depth. Whenever you come across a good quote, whether you're reading, listening to a podcast, or watching a documentary, write it down and return to it until you know it by heart. You'll find that once you have the right occasion to use it, you'll knock him dead. Just make sure it's genuinely relevant and not forced into the conversation. Now, here's where preparation gets really powerful. Focus on the people and context you're walking into. If you're attending a trade conference or industry event, spend 30 minutes leafing through trade magazines or relevant websites. Learn the burning issues of the moment, the latest trends, the controversies people are debating. When you can reference these topics naturally in conversation, you'll impress people by showing you're not just an outsider looking in. You're someone who gets it. Possessing insider knowledge like this increases the chances you'll be welcomed into the inner circle and treated with respect rather than as just another stranger passing through. The same principle applies when you're making a major purchase. If you're shopping for something expensive like a car, knowing the lingo and the small details of how things work can often lead to a better offer from the salesperson. They'll take you more seriously when you ask informed questions about engine specs or safety features rather than just kicking the tires and asking about the price. And if you're traveling, whether for business or pleasure, familiarize yourself with local customs and history. This isn't just about being polite. It's about avoiding potentially embarrassing or deal-breaking mistakes. One hapless businessman learned this the hard way. He was about to close a deal in Brazil when he made the OK hand gesture. You know, the one with the circle with your thumb and forefinger. Little did he know that in Brazil this means something else entirely and is very rude. Now, you won't find that information in most common travel guides, but a quick search about business etiquette in Brazil would have saved him. Effective phone skills can make up for a lack of visual cues. In this chapter, we'll discuss a nowadays underutilized but very effective tool. For many people, talking on the phone is not the ideal way to have a conversation. Some studies show that people lose 30% of their voice's energy when they're on the phone. But whether you love it or hate it, the phone is still a crucial communication tool. So let me show you some techniques that will have your ears ringing with praise. First, when you answer the phone, do so in a crisp and professional manner. But here's where it gets interesting. When the caller identifies themselves, greet them like you would a long-lost friend. Let your voice warm up, inject some genuine enthusiasm. This way, they'll feel welcome and valued, and you'll already be off to a great start. Now, here's something critical to remember. On the phone, people can't read your facial expressions, your body language, or your hand gestures. All they have is your voice. So it's up to you to translate visual information into verbal cues. Instead of just nodding silently while someone talks, which obviously they can't see, make sure to say, I'm so happy to hear that, or please continue. These verbal signals let them know you're fully engaged and tracking with what they're saying. Without these cues, they might wonder if you've zoned out or if the connection dropped. Here's another tip. People perk up when they hear their own name. So you can keep someone's attention by using their name more frequently than you would in a face-to-face conversation. That's a great point, Jennifer. I completely agree with you on that, Michael. Just be careful not to carry this habit into in-person talks, because saying someone's name too often face-to-face can sound like you're pandering or being manipulative. When you want to conduct business over the phone, always ask if it's a good time to talk. Don't just launch into your pitch or your request. A simple, "Is this a good time?" shows respect for their schedule and dramatically increases the chances they'll actually listen to what you have to say. Now, let me share a clever trick for getting past a stubborn assistant or gatekeeper. Instead of asking, "Can I speak to Ms. Smith?" which immediately positions you as someone who needs something, try asking, "Is she in today?" This subtle shift implies familiarity. It suggests you're a close friend or regular contact who deserves to be put at the top of the callback queue. Often, the assistant will put you through or at least prioritize your message. And if you're the one doing the screening, here's a method for making rejections easier on the caller. Have your staff tell them, "Let me put you right through." Then, after keeping the caller on hold for just a moment, have your staff come back and apologize. "I'm so sorry, but she's just stepped into a meeting. Can I take a message?" This approach makes the rejection feel circumstantial rather than personal. The caller is less likely to feel dismissed or unimportant. The phone might not give you all the tools of face-to-face communication, but with these techniques, you can make every phone conversation count. Your voice becomes your handshake, your smile, your entire presence. So use it wisely and warmly. We've reached the final chapter now. Get the most out of every party by making a strong entrance and taking the initiative. Here we're going to discuss parties and what you can do to stand out. Many people attend parties just to have a good time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But let me tell you something. You can also go in with a bit more ambition. Here's how you can meet and impress all the movers and shakers in attendance, and maybe even become one yourself. Once again, that first impression is everything. You've probably heard about pop stars having great stage presence, right? That magnetic quality that makes everyone look their way? Well, you can have that same magnetism, and it starts with knowing how to enter a room. The technique for a dramatic entrance is surprisingly simple. Before entering, pause at the doorway and give the room a scan. Take it all in. Survey the premises. Then, once you've deemed them satisfactory, smile and step inside with confidence. This kind of entrance, calm, composed, deliberate, is sure to impress those in attendance. You're not rushing in nervously or slinking in hoping no one notices. You're arriving like you belong there. Now, once you're inside, here's where most people make their biggest mistake. They stand around waiting for someone to come talk to them. Don't do that. You could end up being a wallflower for the entire night, missing every opportunity to meet the people who matter. Instead, take the initiative. Immediately gravitate toward the most interesting person in the room. Maybe it's the host. Maybe it's someone you've been wanting to meet. Maybe it's just someone who seems engaged and energetic. Move toward them with purpose. When you do have someone's undivided attention, it's time to put everything you've learned to work. But here's a bonus tip that most people miss. Be mindful of your hands. Avoid gestures that might subconsciously register as threatening or closed off, like showing your knuckles or the back of your hand. Instead, adopt an open and inviting posture with your palms facing outward. This signals openness, honesty, and approachability. Remember to listen and take mental notes of what the other person is saying. Pay attention to personal details they reveal, their hobbies, their challenges, their upcoming projects, anything that seems important to them. This isn't about being calculating. It's about being genuinely interested. Because here's where this pays off. By bringing up one of these details in your next meeting, you're certain to make a great impression. Imagine running into someone a month later and saying, "Hey, how did your daughter's recital go?" Or, "Did you ever make it to that restaurant you were telling me about?" They'll be blown away that you remembered. Most people don't. Most people are so focused on what they're going to say next that they don't actually retain anything from the conversation. But when you remember the details, when you show that you were truly listening and that they mattered to you, you transform from just another person they met at a party into someone memorable, someone they want to know better. So here's what I want you to remember. Parties aren't just about having fun, though they should definitely be fun. They're opportunities. Opportunities to connect, to impress, to build relationships that can change your career and your life. But only if you show up with intention, make a strong entrance, take the initiative, and genuinely pay attention to the people you meet. Do that, and you won't just attend parties. You'll own the room. Conclusion, the key message in these books. With some basic understanding of human nature and people's habits, anyone can learn how to be a better communicator and improve their relationships. Everyone should know the importance of making a good first impression, how to use non-threatening and positive body language, giving effective praise, and how to come to meetings prepared with valuable information. With knowledge and good technique, you'll not only feel more comfortable and confident in your conversations, but also gain more friends and quickly move up the ladder of success. And so, we've reached the end of our journey through two powerful guides to human connection. Nicholas Boothman's How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less showed us how to spark instant rapport, proving that likability begins the moment we walk into a room. Then Leil Lowndes' How to Talk to Anyone gave us the tools to keep that spark alive, turning brief encounters into lasting relationships through confident, engaging conversation. Together, these books remind us that communication is not just about words. It's about presence, energy, and the ability to make others feel seen and valued. Whether you're meeting someone new, networking, or deepening existing bonds, these strategies can transform the way you connect with the world. As you step away from this audiobook, imagine the possibilities. Doors opening, friendships forming, opportunities unfolding. All because you know how to make people like you quickly and how to keep them engaged for a lifetime. Connection is power, and now that power is in your hands. Thank you for listening. May these lessons inspire you to approach every conversation with confidence, warmth, and curiosity. Because when you connect well, you don't just talk to people, you change lives, including your own. I hope you enjoyed it. If you can, please take the time to leave us a comment, share, and hit subscribe for more book summaries. Thank you.